Good morning, gang. Joyce with Skipping Calves Farms. The sheep are trying to graze and trying to chase the shade. It's going to be a nice one in the 90s today with sun, and it's pretty humid. So the birds are already hanging out in the shade. I don't know if whoops. There they are. This doesn't work too good with gloves on, so I apologize there. But just a quick, I guess I'll call it quick part 2 for the comfrey experiment. So I was, thankfully I was able to stand in the shade for most of what I was doing. Because it's feels like a good 10 degrees warmer, and it's only about 11 o'clock, so when you're standing in the sun. So what I did was I had about a third, about to the bottom of the A in the A's hardware bucket, rainwater, and then I cut these down. Now they say you should cut it down to about 2 inches. Some of those are closer to 4 or 5 inches long. You really want to cut the crowns down to 2 inches if you're going to harvest them. I may come back and trim that up a little bit, but I'm not going to try and put the stems in my bucket. I may use them for a live mulch in the garden. That's probably what I'm going to do also with the second plant. And maybe the third and the fourth one. I think I may have scared the grasshoppers off, because there were like 4 grasshoppers that have moved over and are now on this plant here. You can see in the shade, there's grasshopper right there. Just kind of chilling out. But if you'll notice, there's a number of holes in the leaves, but most of them just have a hole or two. They don't have a great big place eaten out of them. They just have like a hole eaten into the leaf, like you see right there. And one of the reasons that comfrey is so important is, as I mentioned in the first video, is because it is a bioavailable source of silica. Well, what is silica? Well, we usually think of silica sand, and silica makes up most rocks, but it's not bioavailable to the plant. So with the silica that we'll be able to get from this fermentation from silica, we can add it as a component or an amendment to like a maintenance solution from Korean natural farming or something along those lines. And if you think silica sand, you think it's something hard, right? Which is exactly right. On my soil here, the amount of available silica that just came back in my test results was below testing parameters, which basically means 0. And silica is really, really important as a defense, a natural defense for the plants against critters like that, because they'll start to try and eat on your plants, and the silica that is absorbed into or incorporated into the cell walls of your garden plants or whatever make them resistant to getting gnawed at. In other words, the silica is stored in the cell walls of the plant, and as the grasshopper or whatever insects tries to eat on the plant, that silica that's in the cell walls, think of it like sandpaper. Okay, because sandpaper is made out of silica sand glued to paper, right? So as the insect is chomping down on the plant, he's basically wearing his teeth out, and he can't go out and get another set of dentures. So it's a natural pesticide. I just thought that was kind of a little interesting bit of information I picked up along the way. And so I'm looking forward to seeing how this experiment comes out, and how we can try and improve the soil on this place, because it needs some help. And I've done a good job with the organics, as you can see. As you look down here, you can see it in the shade. That's still kind of a, it's not a dark brown, but it's what I would call kind of a rusty cocoa. But and even that which is in the sun, I don't know if you can see that there. We can make that work. That's not that light strawberry blonde, clay hard dirt that it was just a couple of years ago. It's still got a lot of clay in it. You can kind of see here, there's a crack right there up under the truck in the shade here, because when it gets saturated it swells, and then when it dries back out you get these cracks. But as you can see, so I dig that up, that's still pretty soft. It's full of clay, but it's not hard as a rock. When that clay around here gets totally dry, I can't even put a step-in post in hardly. And I weigh 200 pounds. So I can put my full weight on it, and I still can hardly get that spear to go into the ground. So I'm looking forward to continuing to add to the carbon in the soil. That's why everything looks overgrown, because as much as I can, I try to balance that. What you see above ground is what you see underground. So by cutting this plant back, those roots underneath are going to die back. But the organics that are in those roots that go down a couple, 3, 4, 5 feet, however deep those roots are, I haven't dug it up, are what makes the long-term carbon in the soil. That's the carbon that stays and stays and stays. The litter that you see on top, that when you put down hay on top of your grass, and the litter from the dead grass or plants, that's short-term carbon. It's what Nichole Masters calls, I'm here for a good time, not a long time carbon. If you've not watched any of her videos, she's amazing and just stupid smart. And she's absolutely one of my favorites. And if you've not read her book, For the Love of Soils, it's a good read. Especially the second and third time around. The first time around, there's just so much packed in it. It's hard to absorb it all. But the second, third time around, you really appreciate the knowledge and the wisdom that she brings to the table. So, again, that's Nichole Masters, For the Love of Soil. And with that, gang, I'm going to put the lid on my mouth, put the lid on this video, and put the lid on my bucket. And with that, I will wish you blessings for the day, and whatever you do, just keep chasing the dream.